Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I am Deleted Scenes, human being, American, and YouTube Ronin. I would like to welcome you to the Mystery Movie Night podcast. Sorry for the delay, getting everything taken care of backstage. Just got home from the movie about 20 minutes ago or so. Pardon me. I'd like to say hello to everyone joining us tonight on Twitter. I can't see you, but I know that you're there. In the chat, channel member JPRPH1. Faithful Blue Wrench, channel member. The Bird Woman of YouTube. Watch out for her second channel, Fluff Chick Productions, Connie Clary. Friend of the channel and newest channel member, Space Fraggle. All right. It's good to see everyone out there tonight. I am, as of the moment, flying solo. But hey, no problem. I've done this solo before. That's how the show got started. For those of you who are new to this broadcast, I started doing the Regal movie nights a couple of years ago, and the first movie that I saw was Spirited, which was a musical. Believe it or not, that was a modern day take on Ebenezer Scrooge. It starred Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. And basically, I started out doing these out of the theater type reviews. This was way back in the day. When I had maybe 12 people watching my channel, and the old days, yeah, I remember them well. So, and the only person who was in my chat that night was Outlaw Bill, who was still going by his original Jedi Bill moniker, and he kind of got on there and swatted all my bots and mightily swung his blue wrench, And I've done pretty much most of the movie nights ever since. I've missed a few along the way. I didn't do Sizu. I missed the greatest beer run ever made, or whatever the name of it was. So I've missed a few of them along the way, but I've done pretty much most of them since. And eventually, I met Sin's Corner on one of Latino Slant streams. And we decided that we would go see the movie of that particular week and discuss it. And we decided after that, what the hell, why don't we just make a show out of it? So she became my co-host. Eventually, we off the cover, and Kyle Corwith through the fourth wall, and they kind of became eventually our guest hosts and now co-hosts. However, tonight, Kyle's schedule unfortunately wouldn't allow him to come on. As those of you who follow Sin's channel know, she is currently out of town, so she will not be making it tonight. And apparently, the movie that was shown at Off the Covers Theater was not the film that was shown at my theater. So it looks like I'm going to be doing this show solo, even though he has the link. He can come on. He can discuss whatever movie he wants. It's okay. But in the meantime, you've got me. I did see a movie tonight. I do have a review for you. I do want to say hello to the viewer Drew. And joining us from the UK, Shadow of the Raven. All right. So without further ado, tonight's movie was White Bird, a Wonder story. Now, a few years ago, there was a film called Wonder with Jacob Tremblay, who plays a deformed kid who gets bullied, kind of rises above it. Got to be honest with you, I never saw the movie. So I was already kind of going into this with one boot off, because I'm essentially watching a movie that's essentially a sequel and a prequel at the same time to that movie. And the synopsis reads as follows. Off of Letterboxd, one act of kindness lives on forever. Ever since he was expelled for his treatment of a classmate with a facial deformity, Julian has struggled to fit in at his new school. To transform his life, Julian's grandmother finally reveals her own story of courage of her youth in Nazi-occupied France, where a classmate shelters her from mortal danger. And that's basically the film, really, in a nutshell. You have the bully from Wonder. He is am I breaking up for anyone else? Let me know in the chat. Now, the story is basically about the kid who was the bully in Wonder, who got expelled from his school for what he did. So when you meet him here, and again, like I said, I've never seen Wonder. I was like, this kid is your villain? He's a broken kid. You know, like he says, I don't try to be good. I don't try to be bad. I just keep my head down, and I go through life. And I'm like, this is a broken kid. This is not the villain. So it kind of makes me wonder about Wonder, But anyway, so he's at this new school. He's not really fitting in. He's hiding basically, and he's just, don't mind me. I go about my business. So his grandmother who's played by Midnight's Edge's own Dame Helen Mirren, takes him aside, and she tells him the story of when the Nazis came to her town in France in 1942, and then proceed to wreak a whole lot of havoc. And so, her family being Jewish, they now have to hide. And when the fit hits the shan, she gets separated from her parents, and she is taken in by this other family who hide her in the hayloft in their barn. And their son is basically the bullied kid, because he has a crippled leg. His name's also Julian. He has a crippled leg, walks around with a crutch, and he's basically bullied by some kids and pretty much ignored by others. And this romance develops between the boy Julian and a girl who was Sarah, the young Helen Mirren. And basically, it becomes kind of a YA cross between Anne Frank and Schindler's List. The kid who's the main bully of the story, Vincent, who's a boy that Sarah starts out kind of crushing on. And he goes off and basically becomes a Hitler Youth. Him and his little dirtbag running buddies. And they become kind of the main protagonists of the film. Them and there's also a character who's like an SS officer who's leading this particular group of Germans. And they're basically the villains of the film. And I gotta tell you, and hello to Sin's Corner. Good to see you. Flying solo tonight. Basically, the first half of the movie is Julian and his family trying to hide Sarah from the Nazis as they're hunting down all of the Jews, fighting with the resistance, and becoming increasingly more violent as the film goes on. All right, I'm gonna jump out and I'm gonna start this again. Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me now. Like I said, long story short, basically, you have Sarah, who is hiding in Julian's hayloft. She's being shielded from the Nazis by his family. And it becomes essentially this, like I said, this kind of Anne Frank type situation. And all of this kind of sort of spy trade craft that's going on. Hold on. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's basically the story. She's essentially in this Anne Frank situation. This romance develops between between Sarah and Julian. And it kind of becomes a matter of who in the town can they trust, who is sympathizing with the Nazis, who's with the resistance. So you have that layer to it. And then, like I said, you have this present day story of Helen Mirren telling her grandson this story. Now, like I said, I have never seen Wonder. Don't really know anything about it past the fact that Jacob Tremblay was in it. I know he's bullied. This story's kind of about the bully, kind of changing his ways. So it kind of feels like I'm walking in halfway through the story. And yet at the same time, I don't feel like I missed anything. So it's kind of weird. So if you were to ask me, do you need to see Wonder before you see Whitebird? I don't know. I personally don't think you do. I think the story in and of itself works on its own. Because I have to tell you, this movie has some good points and it has some bad points. The positives are it is very well acted. It's very well paced and shot. The director of this movie is Mark Forster. And I don't know if he did Wonder or not. I didn't have a chance to look it up. But he is the director of Finding Neverland, also Quantum of Solace and World War Z. And I think he did Monsters Ball as well. I don't remember for sure. I might be wrong about that. But he's one of those directors like Peter Yates or Curtis Hanson, where you're never quite sure where he's going to turn up, or because he's directing. He never really does like the same movie twice. He mixes things up. He doesn't stick to a particular genre. And to me, that makes his movies interesting. Whenever I find out that he's on board as the director, that makes me take notice, because I know I'm going to see something with some quality. And this movie does have quality. However, it's a fairly predictable movie. And again, I chalk it up to I'm not the target audience for this movie. This is a movie that is obviously aimed for teenagers. You know, there's enough action and suspense in it. There's enough, there's something in it for everybody. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, this is obviously meant for it's meant for the YA crowd, and it has YA tropes, you know, because while there are portions of this movie that remind me of Anne Frank, of Schindler's List, or like a PG-13 Schindler's List. There are also parts of this movie that put me in mind of the Hunger Games and, dare I say it, at one point Twilight. You know, so it's kind of a schizophrenic movie. It's trying to make a point, and I get the point that it's trying to make. But it does come off a little melodramatic and preachy, especially at the end, where a character stops, kind of stops the movie dead and gives a speech. And I went, oh, and you were doing so well. You were so close to the end. Now you're speechifying. Stop. You know, there is no need to sledgehammer home the point of this film. I get it. You know, I understand the whole, you know, you're supposed to, you know, root for the underdog and support your fellow man. I get it. You know, I don't need a 5-minute speech at the end of the film. You know, and so many of these Hollywood movies do that these days. And that's a shame, because up to that point, it was a good movie, albeit a predictable one. You know, but you know, but like I said, you know, it is a movie that is well paced, you know, until the end. It is technically, it's well done. Okay. It's well directed. Acting wise, everybody brings their A game. It's a to me anyway, mostly unknown cast. I did not know any of the actors in this movie, with the exception of Helen Mirren and Gillian Anderson. I did not know anybody else in this movie, and they're all very good. So don't get me wrong there. My issues are not with the cast of this movie or with the director. My issue is with the writing, which is a little on the predictable side, you know, which again, I could chalk up to age. And, you know, I've seen enough movies like this to know kind of what all the tropes are. So it's kind of a schizophrenic movie. I'm telling you right now, a lot of people are going to dig it, and that's fine. I'm just not 100% sure that I did. I don't think you need to run out to the theaters to see this. I think it's perfectly fine as a, at best a rental. But I can see people going to see this and liking it. Now, and again, this is a non-spoiler review, so I don't want to go too deep into things. The action, and there is action in this film, is, like I said, shot pretty well. Forster knows how to shoot action. He knows how to do this. He knows how to build suspense. And like I said, the main protagonist of the film is a character named Vincent. And he's like the Hitler Youth kid. And I call him like evil Timothy Chalamet because that's kind of who he looks like. Just yeah, think of him that way. So evil Chalamet, he causes the bulk of the damage that's done in this movie to people, and he is this vicious little shit. He really is. So my hat's off to that actor. He made a good villain. He made a good villain. Now, without giving too much away, how he's ultimately dealt with kind of comes out of nowhere, unless I missed a setup somewhere along the way. But it's one of those, like, yeah, you deserve that, you bastard, but at the same time I was like, I'm not quite sure I know how that happened. But yeah, there are like weird little things like that, because there are things that are set up and they're paid off, and then there are a few other things that aren't, and that kind of made me think maybe they cut a couple of scenes out for time, or maybe, like I said, maybe I just missed something, So the pros are, it's well paced. They keep it to 2 hours. The movie has a point to make. I don't know if you could call this a sequel or a prequel. That's a thing, because it's kind of a little bit of both. I think, and again, I didn't see Wonder, and I don't know if you really need to see this movie, because if you cut out everything that references that movie, this still works on its own. So on that basis, it works. Now, here's where I have the main issue, and the reason why I am not rating it higher. I am giving it a recommend, but it's a mild recommend, and I don't think you need to go to the theaters to see this. Again, if you do and you enjoy it, fine. This is simply my opinion. Now, I mentioned earlier that they start speechifying at the end of the film. And I got a question, with the current state of Hollywood, why they decided to put a movie out with this subject matter now. When Hollywood currently equates a certain group of people to another certain group of people, and they put a movie such as this out during an election period, I gotta wonder what their motives are. Now, I could just be reading too much into it. It could just be a complete coincidence, but I am not putting it past them. I don't know. It's just weird, you know. I don't hate this movie. Don't get me wrong. I don't. I question the timing of it. I question whether or not the speechifying at the end was necessary, because I don't think it was. I think it just adds 10 minutes to the movie when you don't need it. I think if they just stuck to the story of these two leads that you see here, who are both great, by the way, in the film, if they had just kept it to their story, I think it would have been fine. But you know, hey, I didn't write the film. People are going to love this movie. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. It's fine. Right now, I would say rent it on streaming. So it's an interesting one. This is why I kind of wish I was not doing this solo, because I would like to have heard other. You know, am I off base? Am I reading too much into certain things? You know, because I kind of feel like I'm doing this movie a disservice, but at the same time, I have questions, you know, and, you know, maybe I'll do a second viewing review of this down the road, maybe. So, hey, you know, it's well directed, it's well paced, it's well shot, it's well acted. It has a point to make, and it makes it, even though I question certain things about certain points. Those are the pros. Cons, it speechifies at the end. It could be 10 minutes shorter. It could have been a little less predictable. And as to whether or not whether or not you need to see Wonder before you see this movie, I'm more curious about that movie now, and I may give it a look, and maybe that'll give me more of an insight into this. But I'm kind of getting the idea that you don't really need to have seen it, because this is very much its own story. It's got some similar themes, but it's very much its own story. So I'll give it that. You know, hey, look at it this way. You know, it's a sequel that is different from the first movie. You know, I'll give it that much. So, like I said, you know, I've got things that I really like about it, and then, you know, some things about it that I question. And As of right now, I'm giving it like a 3 out of 5. But upon a second viewing, I could go up or down half a star. But this is one where if other people see it, I would really like to hear their opinions on it. So if there's anybody out there who's watching who saw the movie tonight, let me know what you think. If you think I'm off base, if you agree, if you loved it, you hated it. I don't think anybody's really going to hate it because it's, like I said, it's a well-made film. You know, and so I'll give it props for that. You know, this was not a movie thrown together last minute like so many other movies are today. This was a movie made by people who are passionate about it, in front of and behind the camera, and it comes through. It shows through in the film. So I'll give it that. Anyway, that's really all I could say about it without really going into spoilers, you know, which I don't want to do because you know, no, I didn't hate the movie. I just questioned the inclusion of some things, and it's a little on the predictable side. That's really it. And this is a movie obviously aimed at the teen crowd, you know, and they'll probably enjoy it. The target audience will enjoy it. All right, so I want to thank everyone who is following along tonight on Twitter. I can't see you, but I know that you're there. Thank you for watching. I'd like to thank everybody who joined me in the chat here. Sin's Corner, Connie Cleary, Shadow of the Raven, Space Fraggle, The View of Drew, JPRPH1. Again, apologies for the poor sound earlier. It only seems to happen when I'm on by myself, which is weird. I'll have to look into that. And of course, thank you for sticking around. The show did get started a little bit late, but I do appreciate you all watching. Yes, and thank you, Sin's Corner. Safe travels. It's a jungle out there. I do want to say that I'm keeping a good thought for everyone who is dealing with the aftermath of the hurricane right now. There are some people in ways of authority who need to remember to do their jobs and help those people. Keep them in your thoughts, keep them in your prayers. If there is anything that you can do to assist, please do. I've been on the receiving end of a couple of these things, but never anything quite this bad. So keep those folks in your thoughts tonight. All right, so that was White Bird, directed by Mark Forster, with a cast that includes Dame Helen Mirren and Gillian Anderson. and a great supporting cast of young actors. What were your thoughts on the movie? Let me know down in the comments. From HQ and all points north, south, east, west, and beyond. Good night. Take care. Stay strong. Be safe. Because this is how we win.